All right, welcome, my friends, once again to another episode of the Red Delta Project podcast and live feed Q&A here on the Red Delta Project YouTube channel. We do this every Saturday, roughly around 2:30 Mountain Standard Time here, where we take a fundamental approach to health and fitness to give you more power, control, and freedom over your healthy habits and diet and exercise lifestyle. As always, I'm Matt Schifferly, founder of the Red Delta Project and author of the books that support this podcast. Links to all those, including like micro workouts, grind style calisthenics, overcoming isometrics, are all down below in the description. So today's topic, what we're kicking things off with, is kind of a topic I've gotten a lot of requests for lately, which tells me that something's kind of shifting around in our fitness culture a little bit, which is achieving more of a fitness to life balance. You often hear about a work to life balance, meaning that is work life kind of encroaching upon other things in your life. And this is usually not something that's talked about too much in health and fitness. And a lot of you may be even asking, what's the big deal? Like, you go to your exercise, you say no to the donuts, it's no big deal. But in fact, it is a very big deal to a lot of people, myself included, for a very long time, because it's very easy for diet and exercise habits to become this big, huge monster, you could almost say, that can encroach upon and even compromise other aspects of your quality of life, relationships, school, work, and so on. And it's first and foremost really important to put that for the vast majority of us, fitness is supposed to be something that enhances your quality of life, doesn't necessarily compromise it, which might seem like a pretty obvious thing, but it's kind of like, the idea of, I was talking with a new client this morning, and I was like, keep in mind that this whole exercise thing, it's not supposed to hurt. It gets uncomfortable from time to time, sure. And you're going to have sore muscles here and there. But bottom line is, this is supposed to be fun. This is not supposed to hurt. You're not supposed to have these negative effects much of the time, if we can have it. And that's the similar thing that I need to post first and foremost, is that your healthy habits and your diet and exercise are supposed to enhance your quality of life, not compromise it. It shouldn't be hurting or encroaching other aspects of your life, but it's fairly easy for that sort of thing to happen. Now, for me personally, I can remember many times in my history where my diet and exercise habits had a very detrimental effect on my quality of life, compromised relationships, friendships, my performance at work, school, so on and so on and so on. Now, it's saying, well, what if that's happening? Just don't do that. Right. However, keep in mind that we have this very strong Puritan work ethic here, especially in the United States, where hard work, effort, and sacrifice are kind of these put on a pedestal qualities. Like, the more you're sacrificing, the better you're doing it. So it's very easy to kind of fall into this rabbit hole of thinking that the more I'm compromising my quality of life, the more I'm doing, quote, what's right for diet and exercise. Like, oh, I'd really like to go to that birthday party or hang out with my friends after work, but they're going to a restaurant where I know there's going to be tempting food. I'm trying to stay on a diet. I won't hang out with them in order to go home and eat chicken and rice out of Tupperware containers. Or the thing of, I'm on vacation. I've got to stick to this workout program. So every day I'm going to drive 20 minutes to a gym, work out for 2 hours, drive 20 minutes back, have my protein shakes, shower. And basically every day of my vacation is going to be 3 total hours of me just staying on my workout, while I make everyone else in my family kind of just sit tight and we can't go and do stuff fun until I'm done with my workout. These sorts of things are very easy to feel like, I'm on the right track, I'm doing the right thing, la da da. But in fact, it could be going backwards. And that's certainly the case that happened to me for many years, where it got into this very destructive cycle where essentially I was kind of feeling like the more miserable I make myself, the better I'm being, the more right or correct I'm staying on track kind of thing. And that's what I believed at the time. I always say, I literally had this one case where I came home from the gym. It was at college. I had a 3-hour workout, came home, girlfriend was studying. I was like, how you doing? And she was point blank. She's like, me or the gym? Like if we're gonna be together, like I need more time, more of your time. I need more of this. I feel like I'm second fiddle to the gym. I chose the gym because I thought that was being right. And I was crazy in love with this gal. But, I chose the gym because I thought that was the right thing to do kind of stuff. So these are just examples, and everybody's a little bit different, but I really can't stress enough that idea that your health and fitness habits are supposed to improve everything about your quality of life, improve your friendships, improve your sleep, improve your health, improve your work-life balance, all these other sorts of things. It's supposed to bring everything up. It shouldn't be compromising these things. And if it is, something's got to tweak and change. Now, the second point that I feel I need to bring up is people are like, well, yeah, but Matt, it's supposed to be a lifestyle, right? It's supposed to be this big central component of my life, and I'm supposed to build everything else kind of around it, right? And in some cases, yes, that is true. There are individuals where being in shape and their health and fitness is one of the main components of their life. However, they're that way because largely they're getting paid a crap ton of money to do that. If I was a professional athlete or fitness model and it was literally my livelihood on the line in order to be as healthy and fit as possible, then yes, of course, my diet and exercise habits should be a main component of my life. But for the vast majority of us, we're not in that boat. We're not supposed to be at that level. We're not supposed to be like a professional elite level thing. For the vast majority of us, diet and exercise is like brushing our teeth and doing little repairs around the house and stuff like that. We're not professional carpenters. I'm not a dentist, right? I don't spend my livelihood learning about oral hygiene. Therefore, it shouldn't be a big part of my life. And I know that kind of knocks some people down a peg or two because we like having this sense of importance, this sense of meaning and self-righteousness and identity that comes with saying, I do this, my fitness is my identity. But there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly okay. But that's how a lot of these things kind of just encroach upon our life. And the bottom line is that health and fitness is important. Of course, your diet and your exercise habits are definitely key. However, there's a hell of a lot more important stuff in life than your diet and exercise habits. In fact, for most of us, diet and exercise should not be a big deal. It shouldn't be something that takes a lot of your time, energy, and attention. It shouldn't be something that you are really losing sleep over. It's like brushing your teeth. It's a means to an end. It's a small little thing you have on a regular basis to accomplish a particular objective, and that's it. It's like a screwdriver in your junk drawer. It's there when you need it. It does the job, goes back in the drawer, and you don't think about it again. That's ideally how diet and exercise should be handled by most of us, myself included. Well, actually, let me kind of backtrack that. Of course, fitness is like my whole life because it's my profession. I am a coach. I am a trainer by profession. So yes, health and fitness is a big part of my life. However, my personal health and fitness habits are about that big. They're tiny, little itty bitty bits of my day. I hardly do any work whatsoever relative to the work I put into writing my books, this podcast, doing things for other people. So I'm big in health and fitness. It's a big cornerstone of my life because that's what I do for others, not necessarily for myself. So let's talk practical here. You're coming into this period where you're like, okay, my workouts, my diet and everything's kind of encroaching upon my quality of life and stuff. What can I do? Well, the first and foremost is getting into more of a fundamental approach to health and fitness versus a dogmatic approach to health and fitness. And this is what RDP is all about. Recognizing the fundamental approaches to health and fitness that I outline in my book, Fitness Independence, and I go into even deeper depth in my next book, which is not even titled just yet. That gives us the foundational knowledge of what makes fitness work. Because most of our fitness culture is method-based. Do this diet, do this workout, do this exercise program, we use this equipment and stuff. And it's not that that stuff isn't important, but it's actually not what's driving the bus. You're not in shape because of your diet. You're not in shape because of the particular workout program you do. That's like me saying I can only go to the store because of the particular type of car I drive. It's like, no, you can get there in a million different ways. That car you drive is just use whatever you like. It doesn't really matter what car you drive. The exact same thing with understanding health and fitness on a fundamental level, because those fundamental processes are what's really in charge. But we often get an encroachment of our health and fitness habits into our quality of life by thinking, I've got to work out this much. I've got to stick to this kind of a diet. I can't eat this. I have to eat that. I've got to do things one particular way. And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? It's not at all true. I know it seems a little self-fulfilling prophecy, like, well, I took on that diet. I lost all this weight. That means I have to do it. No, you got lucky. That diet, for whatever reason, made you eat less calories. Bottom line. So you ended up in a calorie deficit and you lost weight. You didn't have to be on that diet. You didn't have to say, sorry, folks, I can't go to happy hour. I have to go and, eat chicken out of a Tupperware container or else I'm going to get fat. Not at all true. You can still be in a deficit and still go to happy hour with your friends and your coworkers. That's what the fundamental approach tells us. Those principles, those fundamental processes, that's what you've got to focus on. Not, are you sticking to the diet? Are you staying with the workout program? Now, those things are great to have as a template, and you can stick with it, fine, great. But once it starts becoming a challenge and it's really difficult, make changes to it. By all means, color outside the lines. Hell, draw a whole nother damn picture if you like. The rules that we think we have to follow aren't really that important. Those processes are. If you want to lose weight, you got to have more calories going out than going in. I don't care what diet looks like. I don't care what workout looks like. That's what makes you lose weight. If you want to build muscle, you got to work your muscle progressively harder and let it recover. Again, I don't care what your workout looks like. I don't care what exercises you do. You do that, you're going to build some muscle up. You want a healthy diet? Satisfy your primal appetites: hunger, nutrition, energy, and palatability. You can be vegan or you can eat nothing but raw meat for the rest of your life. Doesn't matter to me, because it's really not that important. And giving yourself that flexibility now allows you to say, this diet approach, this workout approach, it's kind of encroaching on things. I don't like how it's causing stress about X, Y, or Z. Great, now you can change it, because as long as you got those fundamental processes in place, you're still going to get the same kind of result without all of that stress. The second thing to also pay attention to is, of course, improving your proficiency. The kind of knee-jerk reaction for a lot of people who want better results is to do more work. And this is kind of the key component for a lot of folks who are having quality of life issues with their work or with their fitness and stuff. They're like, I got some good results working out for an hour, so now I'm going to work out for an hour and 15 and then an hour 30 and excuse me. And that's how I ended up with the 3-hour workout in college, and the girlfriend dumped me because of it, because I thought the best way for me to get in shape was just do more and more and more and more and more. And that's not that there's not a time and a place for doing more work, for sure. However, there's a lot more potential for you to get the results you want through getting better and more proficient at things. And oftentimes we negate to, I'm just going to work harder and do more, when quite honestly, we're not very good at what we're doing. Why did I have a 3-hour workout? Because I sucked at working out. I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know programming. I didn't know what exercises were best. I didn't really understand training progressions and stuff. So all I kept doing was adding more. And that encroached upon my schedule and my time and my energy and all these other sorts of things. So be more focused on doing things better rather than more. Because when you're really good at something, you don't need a whole lot of it. You don't need to do a 3-hour workout when you know what you're doing in your workouts. That's the whole point of my book, Micro Workouts. It's not about trying to get a workout down as short as possible. It's when you become more focused and proficient in being good at an effective workout, you just don't need a lot of it. It's that simple. It's kind of like hammering in a nail. I always tell people muscles are like nails. You just got to hammer it down. And when I was a little kid, if my dad told me to drive a nail into wood, like when we were building our deck, it'd take me like 10 minutes to hammer in that damn nail. I'd like glance it off and I'd miss it and I'd hardly be hitting it. And I was always in awe of my father, who could put a nail down and be like, bang, 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 and it in. But that's sadly what a lot of us do. We just don't know how to hit a nail very well. We don't know how to hit our muscles very well. So we try to compensate with a lot of work, which can make up for it to some degree. But oftentimes it doesn't. It still sucks. It's just more crap kind of idea. So improving proficiency of how well you can do things and how effectively you can, like through my book, Micro Workouts, getting better technique and adding intensity to calisthenics. I came out with my video earlier this week about how to the 10 rep calisthenics challenge. And people are like, well, yeah, I can easily do 10 reps. Yeah, I know. That's the problem. You can easily do 10 push-ups. That's a big problem, because if we want to really build muscle and strength, we also need intensity. Doing 1,000,000 push-ups means you don't have much intensity. So the challenge is do push-ups in such a way you can't do 10 repetitions. Archer push-ups, weighted push-ups, changing speed, changing tempo, all these sorts of things. We want to drive those reps down, not up, because we've got that intensity going. And that, again, is part of the proficiency. Get good at it. Don't just work harder at crappy workout and crappy technique and stuff like that. And the last point is be flexible. Life changes here and there. Your circumstances change. Sometimes you're going to have more time. Sometimes you're going to have little time. Sometimes you're going to have a lot more energy. Sometimes you're going to have hardly any energy at all. And you want to be flexible in your approaches. Be able to change your diet and exercise program 50 ways from here till Tuesday and still be on track of fulfilling those fundamental processes. Because we get dogmatic and we think this is the only way I can exercise. This is the only way I should be eating. And then when life changes, suddenly it's kind of like wearing a parka in the middle of summer, or here in Colorado, September, it's 100 degrees out, literally. So that's what happens is we have these things that work great for a while, but only in those circumstances. And then our circumstances change and suddenly it's no longer a good fit and you're out of balance again. So be flexible. Sometimes be open to eating a lot more. Sometimes be open to eating a lot less. Sometimes changing up what you're eating, changing your workout programs. It's like, I work out for an hour. Oh, okay, now I don't have time and energy. Micro workouts, 10-minute deal, and I'm done, right? As long as you're still progressing how hard you're working your muscles, you're still on track. So being flexible and having a lot of variance in how you approach things gives you that flexibility. So as life ebbs and flows, you can roll right with the punches. And yeah, and lastly, it's that point that I was kind of talking about earlier, where it's like, for most of us, fitness isn't supposed to be a big deal. It's not supposed to be your identity and what you hang your personal worth on and stuff. It's a means to an end. Me personally, it's almost been a bit of a crisis of faith for the past several months, because I'm kind of like, well, who am I if working out's no longer a hard big deal, or diet and exercise? Like, fitness for me is almost nothing now. It's not a big part of my life. And that was what I kind of hung my identity on for so long. They're like, well, now who am I and what do I do and what do I value? And thankfully I've got, my projects here at Red Delta Project and other things that I'm doing. But it's like, what if your identity was no longer involved in your health and fitness? Like, would that be a bit of a crisis of faith? And that's a little bit hard and jarring for some people to do. Well, I guess it's no longer a big deal, but that's not necessarily bad, because there's plenty of other reasons to wake up in the morning, rather than how many push-ups can you do and can you go the whole day without eating processed sugar. So there you go. Workout-life balance. Always remember that your training, diets, and everything like that should not be causing stress, anxiety, and it should not be compromising your quality of life. It's not a sign that you're doing the right thing and you're staying on the straight and narrow. It's a means to an end. And that's it for the vast majority of us. And if you're a professional athlete and you're like, no, I get paid $5 million a year to be in shape, well, then great for you. But that's not what most of us are on. All right. Here we go. Question time. So I've got my computer here, so that's why my eyes are shifting back and forth. This gives me a little bit easier to read the questions. First one from Froten Inferno. Hey, Matt. I hope you're in good health. Thank you very much. You told me a core workout where we put down a cloth from a pull-up bar and tense with a curved back. Yes, but I can't understand how pulling down fabric, albeit helps. It's not fabric. It's not. It's just something you can't physically stretch or pull, because it's an overcoming isometric. It's something where basically you're pulling down. It's kind of like a straight arm pull down, only instead of moving at your joint, you're crunching with your abs. So your whole front side is just crunching down, kind of like you're trying to crunch your abs, squeeze your abs. And that's it. You could use nylon straps over a pull-up bar like that. Hell, even an easier version, you can't quite see my lower body, but just put your hands on your knees and just use your abs to push your hands into your knees as hard as possible. Maybe when you're sitting down, or kind of like a hinged position. That's basically what's going on. Mariano. Hey, Mariano, good to see you. Hey, Matt, here in Argentina, today we celebrate Teachers Day. Very good. So happy day for you. Thank you very much. Thank you from the heart for so much generosity, so much dedication. Your work is exceptional. Appreciate that much. My brother-in-law is actually a teacher. He teaches, I believe, third grade math and stuff. And boy, I tell you, that's a profession that does not get the love it deserves. So I'm glad you guys have that Teachers Day. I think we have Teachers Day here in the United States. Teachers out there, happy Teachers Day. So Lucille Towner asks, hey, Matt, how do you square eating to satisfy and not worrying too much about food quality with 42% Americans being obese? Seems like a lot of us could use more dietary restriction, not less. Very good point. And to your point, that's why a lot of our dietary approaches out there are about restriction. They're not about health. They're basically just going off the same idea of people are eating too much, they're eating too much junk food, they're eating too much processed carbohydrates, so we've got to make diets that restrict these things. And that's not a bad idea. It's not bad, but it is based on the assumption that that's what you need. You could have none of that. You could not be eating too much at all. You could be eating not too many carbohydrates. In fact, you probably may be better off eating more and getting some more carbohydrate in the diet. Nutrition doesn't work in the world of less is always more, kind of like I was saying about working out, more is always better. No, less is not always better either. When you've got too much of something, going as little as possible is not the solution. It's coming back to that point of balance where you have the optimal amount for your health and well-being. And that's what Eat to Satisfy really is about, is finding that ground where you're actually healthier. So to give it an example, it's kind of like if you're overshooting a target, right? And it's always too high. And the current rhetoric is aim as low as possible. Get down, and you're shooting right into the ground. And you're like, get lower, get lower, get lower. Eat to Satisfy is saying, look at the damn target. Now try to hit it better. Oh, you're a little to the left. Okay, move to the right. Oh, you're a little high, move down, right? We're actually trying to get good at eating versus giving some arbitrary example that tries to fit the general population. When we're trying to take general guidelines on a personal level, there's a very good chance it's going to make you miss and be offline from what you actually need. And even if it is in the direction you need to go in, it's not going to stay that way. Eat less processed foods. Good. I feel better. Looking better. Good. Less. Eventually, you're going to start missing that target. Because if you're shooting too high, you get closer to the bullseye, pull it closer, and then suddenly you start missing again. And then you're missing by more, and you're missing by more, and you're like, what the hell? I keep going lower. It's like, no, Eat to Satisfy is eat enough, but not too much. And that way you stay centered and you're constantly adjusting. So that way you're constantly hitting bullseyes versus just going all over the target based off arbitrary recommendations. And it's not about obesity. It's about actually health, and the obesity thing will take care of itself. Crossbones Alex. Hey, Matt from Germany. All right. Fantastic. Man, I love Germany. I got to get back there. Leonberg is such a wonderful city. Munich, too, of course. I have structural damage in my upper vertebrae and need to strengthen my muscles in that area. Can you recommend an efficient exercise for increasing stability? Well, right now, I would, since whenever we're talking vertebrae and stuff, I'm always kind of like there's a lot of nerves in there. There's a lot of ways that can go sideways very quickly. So I'm always about isometrics because that's typically the easiest way to get muscles to contract without any risk, or minimal risk, I should say. So upper vertebrae, I'm assuming traps and neck, and typical, bridge work, or actually what I would do is just rows, isometric rows. So get a strap or a towel around your feet, sit on the ground and pull and get those shoulders back. And the other thing too is just general isometric neck stuff. So lean against a wall with your head and just kind of turning on those neck, head muscles, your upper traps. That's what I would do, is look into that. I've got a couple of videos. If you check Red Delta Project's YouTube channel for neck exercises, it'll come right on up. But that's what I would do, is gentle, start nice and easy, isometrics that pull your shoulder blades back and put some sort of resistance against the back of your head. Yasin, how's it going, Yasin? Again, everybody put a hey Matt in the questions, so that way it's something that I know I need to address. High reps versus weighted calisthenics. What's best for big muscles? Both. We want a variety of stimuli because to build muscle, the stimulus is basically just work the muscles kind of hard. It doesn't necessarily need to be to failure, but I mean, we're basically working them to really hard. And we want a variety of reps. We don't want one repetition. The research very clearly supports, and anecdotal evidence also clearly supports that when people have a very narrow rep range, that they're very limited in their general development and growth. So you want to go big range. You go like high loads, weighted calisthenics, progressive calisthenics. When I do like my progressive pull-ups and stuff, I'm sticking to reps of like 2 to 3 max. I don't want fourth to be a possibility. And then all the way up to like 20, 25, like burnout sets. Grind style calisthenics is all about this. Have low reps, medium reps, high reps. We want all of it. And that way you're getting the greatest challenge for the musculature in your neuromuscular system. Ugh, I promise I have not been drinking much today. Desert Mermaid. I love that one. Welcome back, Desert Mermaid. Will you do any more overcoming isometric videos? I'm very curious about that. I'm one of those rare ladies that bulks up even if I look at a free weight. Thank you very much. Well, are you sure you want to do overcoming isometrics? Because that was quite the bulk up session for me too. So here's the thing about building muscle is that there's a very strong psychosomatic aspect to building muscle. If you have always kind of stayed away from anything that might build muscle, know that one, you've got a ton of muscle building potential. It's very fertile ground. So when people start strength training, there's typically a decent increase in muscular size for a brief period of time. We call these newbie gains, several months, 6 months or so. Women hate it, guys love it. Because in like a month, they're like, oh, my shirts are a little tighter and stuff like that. This is great. And the assumption is that you're just going to keep growing and growing and growing and growing and growing, and you're going to be Mr. Universe by this time next year. But instead, it's like a little growth, and then it quickly plateaus, and good luck getting over that plateau, unless you are really, really trying. So there's a couple things to know about this. One, I would say just get that gain whatever you can. And chances are very good the size is all in your head too. Anybody who's like talking about change in the shape of their body, like I want to tone, I want to sculpt, I want to shape, all of that means build bigger muscles. You don't do any of that without muscle growth. I mean, yeah, you can get it with lower body fat, but it's really hard and you got to be super, super lean. So basically, I'm trying to get over the hump of build muscle initially. Second is know that whenever you work out, your muscles are going to be bigger in the workout in a short time afterwards. Watch some of my videos. I get comments like, Matt, you look much bigger. Thanks. And then the next video, they're like, what happened to you? You look bigger. Yeah, because I worked out before I did that first video, and I haven't worked my arms in like 3 days before the other one, or I did a bike ride or something, and I got smaller. The size and the feeling of the size of the body is highly transient. Like there are some videos out there, you could check these out. These are pretty interesting. They're like 24-hour transformation videos where guys particularly will like take a photo and then they'll take another photo and it's like, wow, look at that before and after transformation. That's amazing. It's like, yeah, there's a 2-hour difference between those images because of taking advantage of as many of those things that cause a transient thing. So the bottom line is I think isometrics are still going to make you build bigger muscles because it's fundamentally the exact same thing. There's no difference in exercising your muscle with isometrics than with free weights. Nothing whatsoever. You're still creating that tension. You're still burning out the muscle. In fact, you're creating more tension and you're burning out even further. One of the reasons why I think that in many ways, overcoming isometrics can be superior for building muscle is because it makes your muscle work a lot harder for a lot longer. And if that's not a recipe for getting as big as possible, I don't know what is. So I'm trying to mess with your noodle a little bit here to get at the real root of this issue, because you're like, I don't want to build muscle. As long as that's there, you're always going to be handicapped. So use the isometrics, use the free weights, but one set, and 3 times a week, and that's it. That will give you your best approach to that sort of thing, and just stick with it. If you feel like you're getting bigger, great, keep going. Keep going. I promise you're not going to get much bigger than that, because 2 days later, you're going to feel like you're smaller again. It'd be great if it worked that way. It would be awesome. David coming on. Hey, Matt. Doing T-planks and sometimes Turkish get-ups. Very good. My left tricep will cramp up. Other than hydration, electrolyte stuff, what might be happening? What might be happening there, Dave, is your tricep is working a lot harder than it's used to. So a lot of times with a muscle, when it cramps up, it's because it's getting turned on at a level that it hasn't had before. So with the T-planks, like you're pressing down and one of your tricep heads does attach to your scapula. So it is engaging a little bit more when you've got that external rotation at your shoulder. So what I would do is just kind of focus on having a little bit of a lighter version of what you're doing, like a lighter kettlebell with those get-ups, the T-plank, just kind of walking T-plank like this, like without that at first, and then gradually ramp up. And secondly is just maybe throw in some tricep exercises, some good old-fashioned skull crushers, or you can do body weight, on the suspension straps. Let's build up those triceps, get them used to that level of intensity. Happens all the time too with hamstrings. People do bridges and they're like, oh, my hamstring's cramped. Yeah, because they're not used to being worked that hard. And again, usually with isometrics, I give them an isometric bridge and they're like, oh, my hamstrings are cramping. Why? You haven't worked them that hard before, because isometrics makes it easier to work the muscle a lot harder. Excuse me. Kareem, hey, Matt, when I try RTO techniques, it feels like my forearm bone restricts me and it rubs hard on the ring. Yeah, not sure if that's normal or if I'm doing it wrong or just me. What do you suggest? Yeah, well, I don't use rings personally. So RTO, you're talking about like the external rotation all the way around. So to a degree, like with push-ups, you kind of have that for an extra point of contact, which gives you stability with those push-ups. So you kind of scooping upwards, which people do like. But personally, I just use suspension straps and I don't have anything pressing on the forearm because there's nothing there. Rings, that is one of their disadvantages or advantages, depending on how you look at it, because a ring, when you look at it sideways, it's just like that. So when your hand is here, the ring is actually at an angle and it puts pressure on your forearm, which, yes, it gives you an extra point of contact and it gives you more stability with push-ups and dips. But I personally don't like things on my forearm when I'm doing stuff. I want as little contact here as possible, which is why I like the NOSC suspension straps. It'll lay flat design and everything means that everything gets away from my forearm. It does not impede and cause rubbing and all that sort of thing. It's much more ergonomic, which is why I use those. And I don't use rings. That's one of the main reasons. But yeah, you're supposed to have that point of contact, but it is a little awkward. And you can try using something that's got just straps and no ring and see if that helps. Luke, good to see you, Luke. Hey, I'm in a constant loop of poor diet and lack of motivation to work out. Yeah, I bet. Poor diet's gonna feed that for sure. I used to be really active, but now feel really unfit. Any advice how to focus on both without ever overstressing myself? I think it's just, you're gonna reverse the cycle there. So you got a poor diet. And again, this is eat to satisfy. Like a lot of people have really crappy diets, even though they're sticking to the diet and being good, because they're following a dogmatic rhetoric. Someone told them this is the way you should be eating, and they're following that, even though their energy level and their workout level and everything's going down crazy. That's why one of the 4 primal appetites is your energy level. A healthy diet should boost your energy level, not compromise it. And I don't care what people say. It's like, oh, carbs are the devil and you should never eat sugar and processed carbs and stuff. If you eat more of that and you have better energy for your workouts and stuff, it's healthier, full stop, bottom line. Because things that improve your energy level, especially in a chronic level, I'm not talking about a spike and then a crash. I'm talking about general energy level just being better throughout the day. That's flat out healthier. It's better. One of the best ways to tell if your diet is healthy is what is it doing to your energy level. If it's going down, it's a crappy diet. That's as where as it goes. So you mentioned poor diet. Now, I don't know why it's poor, but I'm willing to bet you know in the back of your mind. So I would start there. Just small little things. Not enough fruits and vegetables? Have an apple in the morning. All right? Are you not eating enough? Add an extra egg to your breakfast or something. Bring it up just a little bit. Find that energy level start coming back up, and the motivation to work out will come right along with it. And until then, I wouldn't force the workouts. You know, if you're like, oh, I have no energy and motivation to work out very much, well, then do a micro workout. Do something. How many push-ups can you do in a minute? Bang them out. Good. Done. and leave it at that. If you don't have much time and energy, don't try to use a whole lot. Very good. Crack Rock. Hey, good to see you, Crack Rock. Hey, Matt, in a recent Fit at Home podcast, you said something like, the sweetest fruit of your workout labor is the first couple of work sets. Yes, never heard that before. Can you elaborate? Well, it's just a diminishing rate of return, my friend. And it works with food too. Here's an interesting experiment if you want to try this weekend. Take that thing of food, whatever you think, you could just eat it forever, right? Take that, let's say it's ice cream. Take a tub of ice cream, no distractions around you, and just take a spoonful, kind of see how it tastes. Okay, note how it tastes. Note the sensations you have. Take another one and really be a connoisseur, interesting, okay. And you keep doing that and you're gonna notice your taste and enjoyment of it goes down, 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 down. And if you go long enough, you go like, oh, that feels sick eating this. You gotta eat the whole pint. I don't wanna eat anymore. Oh God, it's like the man versus food thing, right? So this is how food works. This is also how exercise works. The initial stuff we experience is the most beneficial. So I grab that pull-up bar out there. I do 10 pull-ups and stuff. That's giving more of a stimulus to my workout than if I did 100 pull-ups and the 90 to 100 or so is still 10. But my muscles are like, dude, we know you've already done this 90 times already. There's nothing new here. You're not giving us any sort of a new stimulus. There's nothing to work with. So that's why I always say the first few reps and sets are the most beneficial because you're going from nothing to something for your muscles. And that's why a lot of times when people, again, it's like, I got to do all this work and stuff. It's like the most beneficial stuff you're doing is at the beginning. I can only do 10 minutes. Well, the first 10 minutes of your workout or whatever is probably the most effective anyway. So go after that. And it's just diminishing rate of return. Are you getting more benefit from doing more? Yes, to a point. And at a certain point, it starts going negative and you're actually doing damage. But that first initial third or quarter, 10 minutes or whatever is where you're getting the best juice from it, both in your enjoyment of your food and from your stimulus from your workouts. The sneakiest. Welcome back, my friend. Hey, Matt, I've been eating a surplus for a while now, but I'm absolutely burned out from eating so much. What can I do about it? Yeah, I don't blame you. So, a lot of times when people are like, I'm burned out from eating so much, they're trying to keep their diet as healthy as possible. And they're like, I just can't eat another damn chicken breast. I'm so sick of tuna fish and broccoli or whatever. It's like, dude, pizza. Go out for pizza. I've got pints of Ben & Jerry's in my freezer I can mail you. It's real easy to get into caloric surplus when you're taking down a couple pints of Ben & Jerry's throughout the week. So you probably have a little too much of I've got to have a healthy bulk and everything. Have some junk food, and that's a good way to go. But try to get some more of the, the quality stuff, like candy bars, not giving you quite as much, but you get a good pizza, really good quality cheese and stuff, something like wood-fired pizza. You get a lot of veggies on it, some chicken and things like that. Bring up the quality of it. You're still getting a lot of caloric density, but focus on some caloric density foods that's going to make it easier to consume calories. But it's not all straight out junk food. Try to get still some nutritional value from that as well. Go to Subway and get a couple footlongs and call that dinner kind of thing. Just, if you want extra cheese? Hell yeah, I want extra cheese and extra Italian dressing. And you dip the whole thing in chocolate sauce. Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Hey, Matt, 19271. I like your little corgi there. He's very cute. Your avatar. Hey, Matt, I've been messing around with a glute ham device, a machine. Very good. If you ever use one, do you have any tips to get a better workout on, specifically on glute ham raises? Thanks. Yeah, first and foremost, don't make the mistake I made, where I started using one time and I'm like, oh, I feel it all in my glutes. My lower back isn't working at all. What am I doing wrong? I was doing it right. You're not supposed to feel that in your lower back. Remember, your lower back to a large degree is a joint. Your glutes and your hamstrings are supposed to be doing the work. As long as you feel that working, good. Second is keep a little kink in your knee, because I know sometimes people get strain in the back of their knee from doing that, especially if they're going at a pretty explosive pace. Keep a little kink in the knee. Keep tension in your calves as well. That's part of your extension chain, so you want tension flowing throughout your entire backside of your legs. Don't try to isolate, integrate. And shoulder blades back, and let your spine be engaged the whole time as well. So basically everything from the back of your skull to the heels, use that as one cohesive unit, one thing. You don't want tension in one area. Get the whole thing engaged. And I've got an interesting, not a video, I don't know if it's going to be a video or a podcast, but an interesting perspective that I've been working on when it comes to the support chains. Basically, I'm coming to the conclusion of don't work your support chains too much. Or too intensely. Like, just work it. Don't worry about, like, am I using a lot of weight and am I going to failure? That may not be the best way to work those sorts of things. It's a preview to something that I'm working on. Let's see what else we got here. Frotan again. Hey, Matt. Very random. Sorry for crossing any lines. No, please ask me anything that you like. That's what I do this for. If you want to ask me what I think of the prospects of the Buffalo Bills are going to be this year, hopefully good. Any lines, but it's just something interesting. I wonder, now that I heard you mention life and faith, can you please ask if you believe in God? I've always said I believe in a creative force. That's as far as I'm going with that. I grew up Catholic, Sunday school, communion, all that sort of thing. But I was never really invested in a religious perspective, largely because, and I guess this is maybe the seeds of now what I talk about, but it's like the dogmatic thing kind of got to me. I grew up in a household where we traveled all around the world. We had friends from other countries. So I got exposed to a lot of different cultures, a lot of different faiths. I was an Asian studies major, so I'm looking at Buddhism and Shinto and Hindu and all these other sorts of things. And it always never made sense to me to have a dogmatic belief. You're like, well, how do I know you're right? How do I know you're right? Well, our book says we're right. Yeah, that's convenient. And all this, it never made any sense to me. But the one thing I can fundamentally kind of land on is a lot of faiths are basically, well, how did we get here? And how did things be created? And creation, is just this sort of thing. And as a creator myself, in many different ways, I basically have, sometimes when I've made something, it's kind of like, almost a divine intervention kind of thing, like my table of progressive elements in my book, Smart Bodyweight Training. Like, I made that in 15 minutes. And when I was done, I even looked at that. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? Because it's just too well put together. It works too well for me to look at that and be like, oh yeah, that was easy to come. I know where that came from. It's like, did something just come down like in, the hand of God just whispered in my ear to do something a certain way? It was really weird, really surreal experience. So the creation of things, there's a creative force going on out there. And that's as far as I've gotten with that sort of thing. So call it God, call it a universe, Mother Nature, the creative force, whatever it is, that's where my faith begins, and it just extends outwards infinitely. All right. Kieran, excuse me. Hi, Matt. What can I do to improve my posture other than doing pulling exercises? So the extension chain stuff that I was talking about. So the GHDs, bridge work, you want to improve your full extension of everything, because your posture, funny enough, a lot of times when people think posture, they think shoulders back. Yes, that's part of it, but it's also everything along your spine, your neck, your hips, your hamstrings, your calves, even the way that you have the placement of your feet matters. I've been seeing a chiropractor for the past month now or so, been doing wonders for this nagging, aching hip issue of mine. And he's like, yeah, you've got a bad toe, don't you? I'm like, yeah, it was an old Taekwondo injury from when I was a kid. And he's like, yeah, that's why your shoulder hurts. And it's like, whoa, because everything's all connected. That's why I always say integrate, don't isolate kind of thing. So we want these approaches that don't focus in one area, because you can have your shoulders back all day long, but if you're hunched like this, then your posture still sucks. So you want to have that full extension, and bridge work, I really do believe, is one of the best ways to address that sort of thing. I've got videos on bridges. Doesn't need to be extreme, but I've been lately taking up the practice of doing bridges every single day, and it's been working out great. Excuse me. Luke, follow-up question. If I have more time to work out in the morning, should I also eat a large breakfast to stop me eating crap throughout the day, or eat bigger meals later on? Oh, good question. You could do either, and both may work. So there's a lot of research out there that kind of points to eating a good breakfast primarily protein heavy in the day kind of has staying power for energy and the ability to eat well throughout the day. Versus like sometimes people will skip breakfast and then they'll have a donut and then it's just a shit show from then on out. So I think the idea of have a good hearty breakfast with a good amount of protein, I think that's a good strategy that a lot of people can implement. I think it's a good way to go. I don't know many people who have a good hearty protein rich breakfast who say, oh yeah, that totally screwed me over. That's why I gained all this weight and that's why I eat a bread truck every day at 3 p.m. kind of thing. I think it's one of those things that just generally is a good rule of thumb, getting some good protein in earlier in the day. And, it's like with a working out, and some people prefer to work out first, then eat. Some people eat a little bit, then work out. Really, whatever works best for you. Again, follow your energy level. Whatever gives you the most energy is probably the best way to go about it. All right, PT Thorn 1710, welcome, my friend. What would you suggestion be when trying to combine calisthenics with compound barbell training and kettlebell training? So stay tuned for the upcoming podcast. I'm going to have Danny Cavadlo here to talk about his upcoming book, Hybrid Calisthenics, which is basically blending free weights and calisthenics together. I've got the book. It's fantastic. It's true Cavadlo style when it's all killer, no filler, as Danny would like to say. So that is coming up in the next several weeks because his book is coming out, I believe, early to mid-October. So that's a good resource for that. But here's the bottom line that I always do is I never program workouts according to equipment because I don't care what the equipment is. Fundamentally, it really doesn't matter what your equipment is. I don't care if you're free weights or machines or bands or anything because it all comes down to those movement patterns. So you got a row, right? This could be on a suspension trainer. It could be on a tree limb. It could be barbell, or it could be kettlebell. Like I'm doing a barbell row, bent over row. That movement pattern's the same either way. And I always program things according to movement patterns. So that's the 6 tension chains: push, pull, squat, and flexion, extension, lateral. So all I simply tell people is, well, just mix and match. It's like, oh, I did bridges today, and tomorrow I'm going to do kettlebell swings. Yeah, it's all extension chain. It's all extension chain. It's fundamentally, there's not really any difference to it. So do it. It's kind of like in my fridge. I've got chicken, I got beef, I got tofu, I got pork. It's all protein. I had chicken for lunch. I don't want chicken. Oh, that's right. I got marinated steak. Great. Awesome. I'm doing it personally, just preference. Like I don't want chicken right now. Ooh, fried tofu. That's good in a stir fry. Yeah, that's what I got. That's how I base those decisions off of. Is I do the same thing with free weights. If you're like, I'm so sick of deadlifts, my back's kind of aggravating me. Oh, bridge work, band work. Okay, great, whatever. It's as long as you got those same movement patterns, the same muscles are working the same basic way, you're still covering the same bases. You're just changing the flavor of what you're doing. Hey, Chris, how's it going, my friend? Hey, man, I'm 19, and I think I have a thin neck from my genetics. I exercise my neck and get the pump for a day, and then I go back to skinny one, and also same goes for my posture. I'm doing my best. Yeah, man, it's 19. Boy, that's a tough one. But to kind of piggyback from what I was saying earlier, remember what I said about transient body image, right? You get that pump for a day, and the next day, it's gone, right? That's how the body works. The appearance and shape of the body, how it looks and stuff is not static. It's always doing this sort of thing, right? And then the big changes, like I lost 50 pounds and stuff, it's just this kind of going in one direction or another over time. So yeah, that's how it works. As the old saying goes, once you get your first pump, you'll be small for the rest of your life because you'll never be that big. Normally, your pump will always be bigger than you normally are. But yeah, 19, I remember, God, when I was 19, geez, I mean, I wasn't doing any strength training when I was 19. I didn't get into strength training until I was nearly 25. But that's a tough age for a lot of people because their bodies are still developing. And it's weird because some people, they're already winning powerlifting meets. And other people, it's like you don't have your real prime muscle strength building years for another 10 years in the future kind of thing. I know people who were skinny mini when they were 25. It's like, yeah, I didn't start putting on real muscle until I was nearly 40, and it's part of it's because they finally figured out what they need to be doing. But the other thing too is just that's how their body is developing at different stages of their life. So yeah, just stay working on it, stay trying to progress, keep engaging the muscles and stuff, and it will come in time. But I know how frustrating that can be. My heart goes out to you. Sometimes it's just difficult at that age. I was 145 pounds at 19. Kalash, hey Matt, do you regularly incorporate plyometrics, jumping, etc. in your training? If not, is it necessarily or not necessary for cycling? Oh, very good one here. So jumping, squats, and lunges and stuff I usually do as like a finisher in my grind style calisthenics workouts. So you got your leg day, good. Jump lunges for 30 seconds, just burn them out kind of thing. For performance-wise, not a huge amount. Generally, if you're like, I'm a cyclist, I need a more explosive power, I just do sprints on the bike. That would be much more direct to that sort of thing. I would more likely just focus on explosive work on the actual bike. And yeah, use them as a finisher. Get like 20 jump squats and just burn out the legs pretty good is the way I would go about it. It doesn't need to be a big thing. I think there's a lot of books out there and stuff on plyometrics. Like, it's got to be this big thing. And I've got a whole plyometric workout and I've got periods they jump a few times. You're done. That's it. That's probably what most of us need to do is just get in some good hard jumps and you're done. Alex N. Good to see you. Alex, hey Matt, what do you drink in the morning that gives you the boost for the day besides water? So I am a big tea guy. I get this yerba mate tea, from a local tea shop here, loose leaf tea. I've never been coffee. I just never got into coffee too much. This is always my vice, Monster energy drinks kind of thing. That's my one vice in life is I usually drink one of those a day, especially if it's like a hard morning, because with my job the way it is now, I usually have to get up at like 4 a.m. And sometimes it's like I am not even going to be coherent unless I get a good shot of that stuff. But that's typically it. Tea or maybe one of those. Gabrielle, hey Matt, I'm testing overcoming isometrics. I'm doing nothing but isometric holds 3 times a week. How would you suggest to progress? Longer holds or a larger number of holds? Very good. Well, one of the great things about overcoming isometrics is that it automatically progresses intensity over time on its own. Like, you don't need to do, because usually when it comes to dynamic work, we are setting up an exercise in such a way that it requires a certain level of tension in the muscles to perform it. Either how much weight we're using or what kind of calisthenics technique we're doing. We need to change what we're doing to tell the muscle it needs to work at a higher level. But with overcoming isometrics, there's no minimum requirement. And there's also no maximum requirement, which means if your muscles can contract harder, you're just going to tell them to contract harder. So the progression on intensity, for the most part, is just automatic. It just happens on its own. You don't need to think about anything. When it comes to the volume that you're talking about here, yeah, you can do more for sure. It's basically more sets or you hold a set for a longer period of time. I typically would go for no more than 30 seconds. And what you want to be looking for whenever you're adding sets, isometrics, dynamic, or otherwise, you want to make sure those sets are feeling somewhat different somehow. And it's like, oh, that felt a little different, stronger, or I'm really driving the muscle to a higher state of fatigue. Something's different from one set to the next. When you get to the point where you're like, that set felt like the one before it. That set felt like the one before it. I'm just kind of the same thing over and over and over. Same amount of time, same amount of intensity, same number of reps, all that. So you're not really telling the muscle anything new. There's no new information. The stimulus is the same. It may not be doing much for you. So I would say go for about 30 seconds. If you're getting to that, then have, about the number of sets that you're getting to where you still feel like it's doing something different each one, contracting harder, burning it out further or whatever. But once you kind of feel like you're just going through the motions, you're done. And yeah, for the most part, the progression will come from that automatic progression of intensity, as I talked about. Wolfie Dragon in the house. Hope you're really feeling better, my friend. Really shocked about your comment the other day when you told me you were pretty sick. I was very sorry to hear that. Hey, Matt, as I can't work out at the moment, I'm trying to watch my nutrition, but when the boredom sets in, it's hard to resist any ideas. What I could do to try to stop myself from overeating. Well, first and foremost is remember that we often overestimate our caloric demand from the exercise we're doing. So it's like we do a single set of push-ups and I'm like, great, now I can go eat a whole pizza kind of thing and stuff. So I would say watch out for the idea that you're like, I'm not really working out too much, therefore I need to really cut back my caloric intake. Probably don't need to cut back as much as you think you do. That's the first thing I do. Probably a little bit here and there, but listen to your hunger. I know energy level is a little hard to watch now because the virus has really kind of wreaked havoc on your system. So I would say for the most part, listen to your hunger. If you're genuinely hungry, go eat something. And as a mentor of mine once said, is give yourself the apple test. If you're really hungry and someone says, you want an apple? You'll say, oh yeah, I'd like that apple. Thank you very much. But if you're kind of just bored and you're like, am I hungry and stuff? Someone says, you want an apple? You're like, really would rather have a hot fudge sundae, not an apple. Then it's probably not really hunger. And in which case I would say distract yourself with something you could do. If I were you, it would be a lot of passive stuff like reading, some projects that you could do like at a table, something that's not too physically active naturally, but keep your mind occupied as much as you can. But yeah, don't assume that you need to cut back that much in your diet. You probably don't need to cut back as much as you think. Really happy to see you on, my friend. Thank you very much for coming. Chris, tomorrow morning I will do mountain biking. Yes. And later in the day, I will do legs. Oh, God. I did this last week. When the next leg exercise comes, do I need to add more reps and sets? So here's the thing is because you're mountain biking beforehand, you are setting up one hell of a grab bag for your condition for that actual leg workout. You're going to have times when your legs are going to be still pretty good and ready to rock and roll. There are going to be times you're going to be way behind the 8 ball. So I wouldn't worry about how much should I progress next time? Like, don't plan your progression too much. Because as a cyclist myself, I mean, I've had some mountain bike rides where I've come home and I'm like, it's going to be a lot of work for me to just go to the fridge and grab a beer off the couch here. And other times the next day I'm like, damn, I'm going to go do a workout. That felt great. So I would say take it on a case-by-case basis. If you can add weight, add reps, add sets and stuff like that. But if your mountain bike ride was killer and it was awesome and you went for another lap around the park kind of thing, and you're like, oh, I'm not feeling so good, then scale it back. Go to your circumstances. Don't necessarily think, okay, how do I progress it after this ride? Make that decision during the workout after the ride. Luca. Hi, Matt. Could you make a video talking about knee popping during squats? I've done it. If you check it out, if you just Google popping knees, popping joints, knee popping and stuff, you'll find it. It's nearly a year and I still didn't find a solution. Yeah, probably you're not having enough tension in your hamstrings and calves and glutes. So on the backside of the leg, not enough tension. I would put money on it because I had the same issue. But it's also very common. Just popping of the joints usually is something where there's tension, more tension on one side of the joint, not on the other. And it's just getting a little out of alignment. It's not a problem, but it can turn problematic if that imbalance gets more pronounced. All right, last couple of questions here. CNFO, hey Matt, any advice on getting back into working out after not doing it for years? Heck, now I can't even do what used to be an easy warm-up at the time. Yeah, work with what you have, my friend. So if you're like, dude, all I could do is push-ups on the kitchen counter, then do push-ups on the kitchen counter. I can barely do a jog around the block, then jog around the block. You know, work with whatever you can do right now. And no, you don't have to push yourself as hard as possible. Just do something. Because remember, all we got to do is create a stimulus. And you create a stimulus by doing anything at all. Like literally moving my arm like this is still telling my shoulder I've got to have this mobility to be able to do this. Right? I'm creating a stimulus right now. Working out doesn't need to be this big thing because you're not trying to do anything special. You're just trying to direct things that are already happening. So do whatever you want, whatever you can. The smallest thing is perfectly fine. All I did was 10 push-ups. Great. That's 10 more than you had before. One is always 100% more than none. So start with something and then you write it down, you know, keep your log and you just build off of that. So it'd be like, well, I can't even do what used to be a warm-up. Don't think in your mind, like, what do I used to do and everything like that. That's in the past. You have to work according to your current circumstances, as I was saying earlier. Go according to your current circumstances, not what you did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or even last week. Last week I could do X, Y, and Z. Well, yeah, you can't do it now, so don't try. Do what you can with what you have. All right, let me see real quick if there's one more here that I missed. I don't think so. I mean, again, everybody, I've got, you hit me up at the Red Delta Project to any questions if they're dire questions that I didn't cover here as well. But really appreciate it. One more. Here we go. Hey, Matt, from Crack Rock, I've added a high rep, low volume pump day. Very good. Always satisfying. In between my push-pull squat days, would you recommend compound or isolation movements for the pump days? Ooh, good question. I would. It may not matter either way. It really may not matter very much. But I would say just for the fun of it, go with some isolation stuff, some single joint stuff, just to give it a little bit of variety and some change. And hopefully that will be some fun for you. So there you go, folks. Thank you very much for watching, listening, and stuff. Again, the first part of this podcast is published to the directory every week. So if you missed that, you can check that out by subscribing to the Red Delta Project YouTube channel as well, but also the podcast on your local podcast directory. Don't forget that the resources that support this channel, like all of my books that I publish, NOSC, suspension straps and stuff, links are down below in the description. It's greatly appreciated. Sincerely appreciate all of the support you've given me all of the years, and it keeps these podcasts running and rolling. We'll do this again next week. Keep an eye out on the Red Delta Project Instagram for the announcements for what the topic will be and when the next one will be, so you can jump on as well. But until then, I'll talk to you next week. Till then, this is Matt Schifferle. Be fit and live free.